You're listening to Jonesy's Jukebox on KLOS. That was Deep Purple, Space Trucking. And there's a reason we played that track. Because we have Mike Massimino
Perfect.
on the box. Former NASA astronaut. You got a book out, Spaceman. And you spacewalked to repair the Hubble. Was that time when it was all out of focus? And then everyone was panicking, and you had to kind of
Yeah, no, you got it.
A couple of years ago,
no, you
right?
got it. No, you got it. Yeah, the Hubble I wasn't on that first mission.
Yeah.
So there's been 5 missions to work on the telescope to service it. And by the way, Jonesy, thanks for having me here, man.
Sure.
This is just great to be here today with you.
I love this stuff, space
cool.
stuff.
All right. Well, what happened with the Hubble when it first launched 26 years ago now, was in 1990. It launched in April of 1990. And when they turned it on, they looked through it, they found out that it wasn't seeing so well, as you mentioned. It had a slight aberration, a misperfection in its mirror. It had this very large primary mirror that the light reflects off of, and because it had this imperfection, the imperfection was so slight, less than the size of it, the width of a human hair. Can you imagine?
Wow, a little thing like that.
A little thing like that screwed it up. So that
was it screwed up before it went up then?
Yes, it was ground. They ground this mirror with high-tech equipment, and the machine that they used to calibrate it was off. So they thought they were grinding it correctly, but they messed this thing up, and because of that, it could not see clearly into space, and everyone was pissed off because.
Did someone get fired?
What's that?
Did someone get fired?
I don't know if anyone got fired, but certainly we're like, hey, what happened to the mirror?
Yeah.
But what they were able to do was they came up. They're very smart people, the people at NASA. This is before I was involved with the program. But what they did is they came up with the idea of just to redirect the light. Just like we wear glasses or contact lenses, what that does is it redirects the light, bends the light correctly so it hits our retina at the right angle, and bam, now you can see correctly. That's all it is, and that's what they did to the Hubble. They basically gave it glasses. They took out a scientific instrument, they put a new one in that deployed a series of mirrors into the light path to redirect the light, just like a prescription. And they knew exactly how bad this thing was, right? So they knew exactly how to correct it, and it redirected the light such that it could see clearly. That was the first mission. The missions.
But that ain't small, though. That thing ain't small.
No,
right?
It's about the size of a school bus.
Yeah.
It filled up the entire payload bay of the space shuttle.
Yeah.
So it's a large telescope, about the size of a school bus that kids go off to school in, and it travels at 17,500 miles an hour. It's above our atmosphere, so it doesn't get aberration. That's why when we see stars at night, we see them as twinkling. Right?
Yeah.
We don't see that in space. They're perfect points of light. The reason they twinkle is because they're coming through our atmosphere.
Right.
The atmosphere distorts the light. So you can't, no matter how hard you try with the biggest telescope at a high altitude, you're never going to beat what you get at Hubble.
Yeah.
And it could also point very accurately, as if you had a laser on the Empire State Building, you could hit a dime on the Washington Monument while traveling 17,500 miles an hour. It's an amazing device.
Plus, it's so hostile up there, surely.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's large temperature changes. In the sun, it's taken about 200 degrees Fahrenheit. And when it goes through the day-night cycle into the nighttime, it goes down to minus 200 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wow.
So it goes at these large temperature changes. It takes radiation, which sometimes does a number on it. We've done repair jobs on the outside insulation on it to keep it going. And it also gets hit. There's debris.
Right.
It gets hit by rocks and
Is
stuff up
there a lot of debris up there?
There's a lot of debris, Jonesy. It's amazing. When we took out one of the instruments on my last mission, on the last mission Hubble, my second mission, we took out an instrument called the wide field camera. And the wide field camera is one of these cameras one of these instruments that takes these great images of the universe. It's about the size of a baby grand piano.
Yeah.
And it has an exposed radiator, which means it radiates its heat directly to space. So when you take this instrument out, the radiator comes with it, and you put a new one in with a new radiator on the outside. So this radiator has been exposed to space, and they had it at the Jet Propulsion Lab, not too far from where we are now.
Yeah.
After my mission, I was at the Jet Propulsion Lab. I went by to see the instrument. They were checking it out, and the front of that radiator
All banged
looked
up.
like some kid got it with a BB gun.
Yeah.
It was just peppered with little holes in it. And not that went through. I shouldn't say holes, but just like dings.
Yeah.
All these little dings from the debris that hit it. In the high gain antenna, which is a big antenna we have on the Hubble, there's a hole about the size of a golf ball. So a piece of debris came through and hit it. So it has to be able to withstand that temperature changes, radiation, the hostile environment, and it's still going. It's still.
So
doing
you've been
great
out.
work.
You've been outside.
Yes.
Of a spaceship.
Yeah, got the spacewalk
Yeah.
4 times. I had 4 spacewalks
And
in
you don't.
my
Is
career.
it scary or is it like relaxing?
It's kind of, it's intense because you work in here. You trained for years to do this, and now the big day comes, and you're out there working as hard as you can, trying to make sure you concentrate and do things right, work with the team. I mean, so it's kind of intense that way. It really wasn't scary. It's scary from the standpoint of you don't know what's going to happen that day. Is it going to be a good day or a bad day?
Yeah.
But once you get out there, you start, thinking about it, things are usually worse than actually doing them, right? So when you get out there and you're doing that and working, it was great doing that, working on the telescope. But the amazing thing is what you see out there. The altitude of the Hubble is 100 miles higher than where the space station is. You can see the curvature of the planet from that altitude.
Wow.
And you can see it as a gigantic ball in front of you when you look at it, and it is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, Jones. It is the only way. There's no words to describe its beauty.
Yeah.
So what I try to do in my book is describe what I was feeling. And,
Yeah.
So one of the stories I tell is when I really had a chance to look, just forget about where you are and just kind of soak in this magnificent view. My thought was, this would be the view from heaven. If there's a heaven,
Yeah.
and you could look down on our planet, that's what it would look like. And then it didn't make sense to me. Going through my mind, I was like, no,
Yeah.
that's not right. It's more beautiful than that. This is what heaven must look like. I felt like I was looking into a paradise. I can't imagine anything more beautiful than our planet.
Until
I
you
really believe we're
until
living
you
in a
come back
paradise.
down, and you got to deal with all the arseholes living.
Well,
on
that's
it.
that's the other thing. You think we go to this crap all the time. We hear stuff. Things happen. We could be sitting here now for a little bit of time talking, and who knows what's going on the outside, right?
Yeah.
We're going to probably find out something wacky happened again,
Yeah.
right? Bad stuff happens all the time. But when you see it from space, I think you see it in its true form. It is a paradise that we live in, and we need to take care of it. It's a beautiful planet we live on.
Do you think there is other planets livable like this one?
I think so, yes. I mean, one of the discoveries Hubble just made recently was that there are 10 times as many galaxies as we thought there were. Now, we already knew there were billions of them, right?
I don't
And
know.
now 10 times, we know this. Well, that's what we had determined. That now we realize we were only seeing a small section of it, about 10% of them. 10 times as many. 90% of these things we haven't even seen yet that are out there. Each one of those galaxies has millions of stars in them. So we have a trillion galaxies with millions of stars. These stars, much like our own star, with planets around them. So the likelihood that there's life somewhere else is pretty good. I really do believe there's life somewhere else. But having seen the Earth from space, I don't know if we'll ever find anything quite as beautiful as our planet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you think, there's always that conspiracy that we didn't go to the moon, it was all a stage.
Yeah.
Is that nonsense?
That's nonsense. I was kind of hoping for that, actually, when I was going to launch into space myself.
Yeah.
Looking at the rocket ship, on that day and being a little frightened by it, thinking, oh, maybe like a 2-week vacation and faking it would be all right. But no, believe it or not, we put people on rocket ships and we blast them off into space. It happens.
Well, you're proof of that.
I think it's all right. Yeah, I think it's the way to. I think it's you got to be careful. It's a bit dangerous, but I think it's a wonderful experience. And yes, we did go to the moon and we did collect the moon rocks, and we did that back in the 1970s when you and I were kids.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing accomplishment. We haven't been back since early 1970s. We haven't been back to.
Why
the moon.
not? Is there nothing there?
I know there's a lot there, but the mission that we had back then that our country went on wasn't necessarily a national defense program, but it was fighting the Cold War against the Russians.
And the country was in turmoil at that point.
It
Vietnam and all the rest.
Right,
of
all
it.
that was going on, and that I think was a function of an ending too of the moon, because we started having other priorities. We had other things that were going on. We made it to the moon. We beat the Russians to the moon. We put people there. We showed our technological wherewithal to do that. And it was a large percentage of our tax dollar compared now. I mean, it really wasn't that much. It was probably over a penny, a little bit over a penny.
Yeah.
But now NASA gets less than a penny on the tax dollar, and that's a significant amount. We just can't afford to go back and do these things anymore. I think we will go back. I think we're going to go to Mars. I think in our lifetimes, actually, there'll be people on Mars.
Yeah.
But I don't think that it's going to be just NASA doing it. I think it's going to be other governments, private companies. I think it's going to be a kind of a conglomerate of NASA. NASA has a lot of information. I think they're going to be involved, but I think it's going to be some of these private companies paving the way to go there.
Fantastic. I want you ain't. What time you got to leave here?
I got a little more. I got about a half hour or so. Yeah.
Okay, great. This is so fascinating picking your brain, but we got to take care of some business. What you got, Shovel?
Well, yeah, we're going to qualify somebody right now for $1,000. We're going to take caller 25 at 800-955-KLOS. They'll get a pair of tickets to 6 a.m. at the KLOS warehouse at Swing House, and then they'll be in the running for the $1,000 later today. So that's going to happen right now.
Thank you. Let's play a song. We come back and do some more chatting about space. Let's play Brett Smiley, Space Ace. You're listening to Jonesy's Jukebox on KLOS with my former NASA astronaut, Mike Massimino.
Perfect.
A time in every space boy's life. He meets the girl of his clouds, hanging out in different crowds. I think my head has shrunk, gonna have to climb back in the trunk. Time when you want to do it with a knife. Talk French, say more. Show me some of your literature. I'm feeling so insecure. Touch me, be my power.